Hey everyone, welcome to the Tech Informative. Today we're having a side chat on HPE Integrated Lights-Out. I'm Stephen Wagner.
Rob Dalton.
This is a side chat episode where we pick a specific topic to talk about. You can expect these every once in a while. It's a very brief, regularly unscheduled video podcast. Today we're talking about HPE Integrated Lights-Out, also known as iLO. Let's get started. Rob, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of iLO?
Well, for myself and my experience, it's been remote access for the most part, remote control at the hardware level of the host.
And that could be administrating servers, that could be installing operating systems. There's quite a bit that you can do with that.
Yeah, and also it's not unusual. I also strongly use it with the management, like remote network management and monitoring, SNMP.
Yeah. And like with me on the IT provider side, managing many customers, especially customers with servers in different locations, it's been huge for me.
Oh my gosh.
Like you mentioned with the remote access, but at the same time too, like I don't want to forget about mentioning the firmware management aspect.
Right. That's right. And that's one of the things that I guess it's a double-edged sword with the management of the firmware is they frequently come out with new versions of the iLO. What would you say, every couple months maybe?
I think it depends on. I know that right now there's a big kickoff with the Gen 10 servers. I can't vouch for that because as of right now, I'm not touching or managing any of those except for on special engagements where I'm not. They don't give me access to that.
Yeah.
But with some of my existing customers and with my own environment, with Gen 8, it was pretty frequent. I think it was on the regular interval of the Proliant service packs.
Oh, even more frequently than that. We're running Gen 10s and I would say once a month. But that's one of the things that I don't look forward to an update, but I know that they're patching and they're making it more secure and in cleaning out any bugs for previous versions.
Yeah. And one thing that was nice too is that with the older versions, even though they were, I don't know if it's end of life or I think end of support would be a little bit more accurate. When Spectre and Meltdown came out, they were pretty good about creating an iLO update for those older servers, and I think they even made it available even if you didn't have an active support contract on those.
Right. Here's a fun fact. With my old compact Proliants, I remember, you'd throw in the service pack, the SPP, and I never patched the iLO at that time. It just wasn't the climate. But man, it would just rock for years.
Yeah. Did they have the iLO updates on the SPPs back then, or?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. We're going back, but
yeah, because I remember like I had a couple customers where like we would try to push. I actually did have the guts to try doing those iLO firmware updates on servers that were 1,600 kilometers away. I think that could be something like 1,100 miles in remote areas where you couldn't get access to. And it was kind of cool because you would do those updates and it would actually give you a warning that there's going to be a momentary disconnection in your iLO connection while it does the firmware update. But to this day, knock on wood, pushing those iLO firmware updates, eventually iLO would come back up and you could actually patch everything, including iLO remotely, which was kind of nice.
Yeah, that is nice. And that makes me think about the virtual drives where you can mount the ISOs and the operating systems entirely on it.
Yeah, it's super handy. Like, and actually with those specific customers, there'd be times where I'd have to load up like a memory test tool or something like that, or some type of recovery tool. And it was nice because, even though technically you're supposed to have that loaded up on a local workstation over a LAN connection, I actually, even in a few circumstances, had to load up some smaller CD images, and I could actually do it over the internet. And it would actually work. It would be as slow as the internet as far as loading it. But these days, it would just load up some of the files into like a RAM disk. So once you get past that loading time, it was actually pretty easy to use in those specific scenarios.
Yeah. And let's not forget the ability to do, like I mentioned before, the remote access as far as remote management and monitoring of it.
Yeah. Do you want to take a second? Should we jump into exactly what iLO is for people that might not be too familiar with it? Like, I think a lot of people don't know that ILO technically is a separate computer that's kind of built into the main board of the server motherboard. And I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it could use like an ARM processor, or I don't know if it's MIPS or Pocket, but it is a separate system.
Yeah.
Um, I think it runs Linux. I could be totally wrong, but I just want to put the emphasis on the fact that it is a separate system. So that's one of the things that makes it so powerful as far as troubleshooting, is that if something is wrong with the motherboard, you actually, that's stopping the system from booting, you'll be able to get the diagnostic information that something is significantly wrong, and you could potentially require a hardware replacement, whether it's the motherboard or different components, backplanes, PCI Express cards, any hardware that might be inside of it, right?
That's right.
No, like I don't know if you, is there anything you want to add to that, or I don't know how much of it I'm covering right now.
Well, again, I mean, I mostly use it when it's a critical situation where I need to get that host or server. And I mean, that's so valuable to be able to do that. You know, traditionally I've used like KVMs,
Mm-hmm.
like a couple dozen ports on a KVM or something like that, but it just doesn't match to having that onboard management system like
Yeah.
iLO.
Yeah.
And you know, I've also used like IPMI, but it just doesn't, again, come close to what my experience with iLO has been.
Yeah. Well, I don't have too much experience with that, but you know, just comparing it to a different solution, and correct me if I'm wrong with IPMI, but one thing I find really valuable is the fact that there's actually dedicated ILO ports on the servers and the server motherboards. So if you do have, like,
Right.
let's say a 10 gig NIC adapter that you're using for management, if that server goes down, ILO technically still should be available on on the network, just because it is on its own dedicated. And not to say that you can't. Like, I think there are options where you can actually have another NIC and have it share with a specific NIC, but it's just nice to have a dedicated NIC, so that if you
Absolutely.
do have a complex management network, you can actually hook the ILO interface directly up to your management network and keep it off your data network, right?
Yeah, out of bounds.
Yeah. And I think that there's some other things too, like just moving on. I don't have too much experience, but I think with HPE OneView, it can actually connect and integrate ILO on many or numerous servers on a larger scale. Again, I can't say too much about it,
Mm-hmm.
but I think there's some options as far as that. I know that it used to be called InSight, and I could be wrong about this. We shortly discussed this a little bit before we started recording the show, but back in the day, there was HPE Insight. And a lot of companies were actually purchasing Insight licenses that had ILO Advanced bundled with it, and you could manage it on a large scale. At one point, I actually loaded up Insight and played with it a little bit. It was a very
Okay.
large package. Like, it was overkill. Like, it was
Okay.
eating up the resources of the Windows server that I had it installed on it. And for 3 servers, it was just ridiculous. So I never got to play with it. But yeah, there's quite a few tools for the larger enterprises.
Yeah.
And another one is you know, in some of our previous discussions with some of the work that we've done, you know, we've done some stuff with InfoSight. Another thing that you can use, or comes bundled with, or is connected or integrated with, is the ILO Amplifier Pack. And
Correct.
did you want to jump in there and just talk a little bit about it with the integrations with InfoSight?
Well, what I'm seeing on the InfoSight side, again, I'm coming from the nimble InfoSight, so I don't want to chase that rabbit too far down that hole. But you know, like, it just doesn't offer the resources or the analytics that the nimble side does. So, but as far as the amplifier pack and the patching and you know, the core host, you know, I'm sure it's a work in progress.
Yeah, because I think originally InfoSight was, and correct me if I'm wrong, originally developed for Nimble. Like, that was the first pilot project, correct?
It was Nimble's product.
Yeah, and they were using artificial intelligence and machine learning for predictive failures, patching, coming up with stats on the different drives. I don't want to get too much into it because we're not talking about any storage products, but I think that they're trying to do the same thing with servers, to the point where you can generate wellness reports, find out what's going on with your server environment.
Yeah.
just kind of, I think we've got some pretty cool stuff to see. I may not have had as much access as someone with one of the newer servers, just because in my environment, I'm running a bunch of Gen 8s. I think I was probably one of the first people to actually turn on InfoSight with the iLO Amplifier Pack
Hmm.
for the Gen 8 servers. But there might be some more information that's, some more capabilities or feature sets that are available when using Gen 10 servers.
Yeah, and I think that's probably something that I need to keep in mind as well with my, my comment earlier about the amplifier pack and the limitations on the G10 side, and that is, it is a new product to HPE, given that they purchased it from Nimble, and it was a product that I think that is a feature that came with Nimble that was very interesting and valuable, maybe even more than the storage. Who knows? With the way they're going with the 3-par, didn't have anything like that, and with the
Mhm.
hosts now they have it now. So it is a work in progress, and I'm sure that they need some time to build up on what they had purchased, right?
Yeah.
Integrating it into their current infrastructure. So
Mhm. Either way, it's they're releasing a bunch of stuff. And for those of the viewers that don't know, in order to actually connect the this Hewlett Packard Enterprise integrated lights-out to InfoSight, you do have to use that iLO amplifier pack. But with all that being said, there are numerous other features and functionality that come with deploying the iLO amplifier. So make sure you check it out. We're probably going to put a link in the description. It can do other things like rescue failed firmware updates for your servers. There's a whole bunch of other management capabilities. It can provide asset management in the server. So it's definitely something you should check out, even if you're not willing to turn on the actual InfoSight capabilities.
yeah.
When we first started off the video, we got into a little bit about what we could do with it. We covered server access. We covered firmware management. I don't think we got into server provisioning, but that's actually a really, really hot subtopic that I would like to get into. Just because, with that remote access, for example, you get iLO loaded up, and this has been huge for me. I don't know if you've used this at all, Rob, but deploying operating systems for customers. There's the assisted guided OS installation. I probably deployed over 50, 60, and this is old way back,
Wow.
but,
Mm-hmm.
50 or 60 small business server implementations using the HPE assisted OS installer. And that was actually fantastic because, it would actually load up the RAID controller drivers. It would load up the ILO agents, the SNMP definitions. So technically, the moment that you install the operating system, all that's included. It's all ready to go. And it generates that question file. So, you just tell it what you want the administrative username and password to be, and it gets it all taken care of. And again, there's zero contact with the actual server itself. You're loading up a window, you're connecting to the ILO. They have that server tag, like a lot of you have probably seen when you get your HPE DL360, or sorry, HPE DL360P. You've got that little asset tag that's connected to it, and it's got the server serial number, it's got the administrative username and password, and you can use that to connect to the ILO. And all you have to do is just open up the remote console, configure any BIOS or EFI customizations that you want, attach that CD image to it, and load it up, and you're pretty much good to go.
And you know what you do next? You
What's
change
that?
the password. Don't forget to change the password.
Yeah, that's a big one. And wasn't there something that just happened in the last
Oh,
6 months or something with the passwords? Or am I thinking
I don't
I might
know.
be,
I didn't hear anything on
yeah,
that.
yeah. They might have been randomizing the usernames. I don't know if it's a different vendor or not, but I think there was a release that came out where they were going to start using the serial numbers as the usernames, just to get away
Oh,
from the standard username of administrator.
okay. Well,
Yeah,
that's one step. Yep.
yeah. But
And
just sorry,
like,
just to take a step back, just before I forget to mention this, we're not just talking about the ability to install operating systems from scratch. This is also a lifesaver for recovery. You know, um, I haven't touched into VMware at all, but just continuing going on about Windows. With ILO, let's say that you have some big virus infection or something like that. ransomware application comes in and encrypts everything. This is again a separate system from the actual system. So the software is not running. There's some connection points with the operating system that's running, but for the most part, it is a separate computer that provides these capabilities. So if you do have a server that's remote, if you get to a point where you cannot boot, where the operating system is damaged, where you've lost many drives inside of a RAID array, technically, once that hardware issue is fixed, you can connect with ILO, load up a recovery CD, and actually even kick off your disaster recovery components as well, which can be super handy, especially with some of those examples I mentioned, where you have servers that are in remote locations that aren't easy to access.
Yeah, fortunately for me, everything is on-prem. I'm on-prem with that host for the most part, so it's only in recovery or in a down state, which rarely happens. Do I need to jump in on that console?
Yeah, but at the same time too, it's even in your scenario probably super nice just to be able to open it up on the workstation you're working on instead of running down to
it's great.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Or even having the ISO on my machine and just map that virtual disk to that ISO. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And before, again, just to bring this up, but you mentioned earlier in the chat about the SNMP access.
Yep. So, just another tip on the security side is make sure that you have separate username and passwords for each of the services. So whether it's the SNMP monitoring, separate username and password, your Action Pack, Amplifier Pack, separate username and password, so keep them all separate and not running with that main primary administrator credentials. But I monitor throughput, traffic, everything on the NICs, all of that right from the iLO.
Yeah. And just to add on to that too, like with my company, so being a managed services provider, we have software that we use to monitor and manage customers' environments. And one thing that I've been lucky about, and this wasn't even planned, like I've been using the software that we use for a really, really long time now. But when we first implemented it, I was surprised to find out that it actually integrates with iLO. And so it's great because from the monitoring platform that we use, and I'm assuming there's tons of other monitoring platforms that support this as well, we get live insight. And it pulls the information from ILO, but then puts it in our panels. So, if we have a customer that has a failed drive, we get a notification immediately. So you can either view it directly through ILO or you can use it through one of the integration points. And I'll let you get to that in a few seconds because I think you're familiar with a few of them. But with mine, it's great because it triggers a notification. We get metrics on the failed drives, temperature status. There's been times where with my own servers for my business that, the air conditioner might call it quits. And the big savior with that was the fact that the temperature sensors, like the HPE calls it the sea of sensors. I think they've got 100 plus, 150, 160. There could be way more sensors inside of these servers. One of them being temperature. I have a threshold configured, triggers a notification in my monitoring and management system. And, it saves the day. We can take care of the issues with the HVAC system. Never had to shut the servers down. It saved the day because, those servers, the fans can spin up, but at the same time too, you don't want the hard drives running in those temperatures, even with cooling. So it was just really, really nice. And I think, like I said, before the show, we had a brief discussion and you found some of the other integration points for ILO.
I'm not sure what we're referring to.
I think we were taking a look at an article where I think it was Python. There were some integration points as far as Python.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, right. We had Python. What was
Ansible?
The other one that was? Oh, Ansible.
Yeah,
Ansible. Yeah, it's like that started causing the ramps up to really got to get on the Ansible bandwagon. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No worries. But yeah, so it's nice just because there is quite a few integration points with ILO. So I think we've covered quite a bit about what ILO is, what you can do with it. One important thing that I think we need to address is the licensing. So I think every server. I've never dealt with some of the lower end servers with their product portfolio, but I think for the most part, most servers come with a base license, or they come with iLO, with the exception of the micro servers.
Hmm.
And if anyone wants to, feel free to leave a comment and correct me on this, because I'm pretty sure I'm probably wrong. But the servers that do come with iLO have the base license, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you get access to iLO, you get access to all the information, the health of the server, memory information, processor information, everything to essentially get you started and ready to rock with that server. You have
Yeah.
access to the remote console, but I think it does kick you off after 2 minutes.
I think it allows you to access it through the boot up.
Yeah.
And then once the operating system is booted up, you can't access that remote access.
Yeah. And I think there's also some power monitoring, I think might require.
That's available. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And jumping onto that, so then the next step up is the advanced license. And I think those are pretty cost effective. I think you can actually purchase iLO Advanced on its own, which could be a couple $100.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on what your partner is ready to provide it for. Sometimes they'll bundle it in the service for free. There's bundles and promos, and there's other things that you can purchase that include the iLO Advanced licenses as well.
Yeah. Well, I think I saw in your blog a while back that you had offered a link, a blog post on the advanced that HPE was offering for the duration of the year or something like that.
Yeah, well, that was actually one thing that was super cool. So I don't want to get too much into the whole COVID-19 thing, because we have possibly a couple segments or shows coming up in regards to that. But one thing that was really nice, where HPE really saved the day, is with the repercussions of COVID-19 and the drain that it had on IT, HPE decided to essentially provide iLO Advanced for free for as many servers as you'd like for the remainder of the 2020 calendar year. And they did this to help with COVID-19, to help people get utilized, take advantage of. And of course, this is probably going to sell a lot of iLO Advanced licenses when this is all said and done, when people, just because they're used to it. I can only assume that there's tons of people that have never used it. And this is a nice little kind of kick in the butt to like, hey, there's a situation going on right now. You need to be able to remotely monitor and manage your servers. Try this license. It'll save the day. And, you're going to learn this product that you should have already known about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what we'll do is I'll make sure that we have a link in the description. But today is October 17th. So if you're watching this before January 1st, 2021, you can, I think it's still active, so you can head over and request a trial license. And the trial license should be valid until January 1st, 2021.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I read that, like, no joke, like 3 or 4 days after I had just renewed or subscribed some iLO licenses.
Yeah.
Your blog post. Like, oh.
Yeah. But you need it anyways. Like,
once it sells itself, it really does. And like that's pretty genius, I think, of HPE to do that. Is when you get that in the hands of the administrators and they see some of those offerings, it's going to sell itself.
Yeah, because I think if you're an HPE house and you've been using it for a while, I don't think that a lot of people are satisfied with HPE product. So they're not going to be too offended that they ended up paying for a product that was made available for free. But I can see this bringing a lot of people over who might have a couple HPE servers in an environment that's mostly dominated by another vendor, right?
Right.
Yeah. Like in my case, it was nice. Like a lot of my servers, even for my home lab, I actually spend the money and buy these products. But with that being said, I did, in my own case, I had one server that didn't have an active iLO Advanced license. So it was kind of nice to be able to deploy it on that.
Right. Well, that you raise a good question. Is, could you imagine having racks of servers, hosts that didn't have any type of remote access or iLO? Or even, how about one? You had one production server. How would you feel if you couldn't have iLO on it, or it was limited?
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I remember when I first started at my company, I think it was, I was kind of bad. For the first 2-3 years, I was building my own white box servers to thinking I'd save money. And what ended up happening is that at the time I was actually selling HPE product. Formerly back then, it was just HP before they had the split between the consumer product and the enterprise product divisions. But what ended up happening is my server died and the drives failed and there were issues with compatibility and whatnot. And it got to the point where I needed to make a decision. And this is essentially how I became really committed to HPE is I finally decided to, I got to start spending the proper money on this because, I might have saved a couple $100 by building white box. But at the same time too, I'm at the point now where I'm dealing with big customers. I'm dealing with big money. I'm dealing with big data. I needed to actually purchase a product like an HPE server for myself. And that's how I ended up using it internally. And I've been doing that now for probably 13 years. I think I've been in business for about 15 years, but 13 years I've been using HPE product internally and I don't regret it. And I use iLO all the time. I'm connected to it for whatever type of testing I'm doing, for any type of remote administration. I'm doing a lot of hacking with my home lab, testing stuff. So I'm always jumping in using the console, troubleshooting VMware issues. I'm bleeding edge as far as anything that's GA. So it's really nice to have that iLO console so you can troubleshoot, 3D accelerated VDI cards. It's the cat's meow.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I don't want to bash other manufacturers or whatnot, but I remember what sold me on the compact, which HPE is just continuing on with the quality of the product. But when I picked one up, when I picked up a host, a server, I'm like, oh my gosh, what the difference is, it's just awesome. And it just goes back to, I remember when I worked for the government with on the bench, they'd be using HP equipment, test equipment, oscilloscopes and things like that. It's all HP high quality stuff. It's not, so the quality comes with HPE.
Yeah. And I think there was just a report that came out. I don't know the specific words, but I think they won an award in the last 20 days or so for being the leader with industry standard servers.
So, that was one fear on my side with the compact Proliant. I was afraid that at that time HPE, when they purchased it, what's going to happen to the quality of the Proliant? But they've just continued it, and if not made it better, Yeah,
and they've done so with a lot of products. We were just got off topic a little bit earlier about Nimble. There's a lot of solution architect training events that I've been to where I don't know how much I can say about this because it's all under NDA, but they brought over the team. Like when they buy these products, they want to integrate it into their product portfolio. And that's what's really nice about it. They don't just buy something and then turn it into an HPE product. They keep almost the values and the dream that the original product they had when they purchase and absorb these other products. And for the most part, they maintain it and they better the products. They don't just, kind of make it their own and leave it where it was, right?
Yeah. InfoSight.
Yeah.
As an example.
Yeah. And just to be fair, we've been going on and on about iLO. There are some competing products, and two of them, iDRAC and IPMI. I don't have too much experience, so Rob, maybe you can jump in.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have limited experience as well. I do have with the IPMI, but it was basically with some off-branded equipment, and it was very limited. Mm-hmm. And also, I guess one of the things that was really in the back of my mind was the security side, the quality, because it never got patched. I never was updating that IPMI. So.
And so do you think that was just because they weren't taking the product seriously, or do you think that's just because they were trying to get you to upgrade to the next generation of the servers that shipped with it?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I think it's just it wasn't getting the attention that it should, like HPE does with iLO.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
What about iDRAC? Do you have?
I have zero.
Yeah.
Zero.
So I can't say for iDRAC, but for IPMI, with iLO, with the integration to the Amplifier Pack, with integration to InfoSight, is there anything that you can do like that with IPMI, or is it pretty limited just to basic remote console?
Yeah, I can't answer that.
You know.
I don't know.
Anyways, if you're watching this video and feel like contributing, feel free to leave a comment and correct us on anything that we might be wrong about, and let us know if there's any integration points for IPMI and iDRAC. But I think for the most part, we've kind of covered this. Again, this is supposed to be a very informal side chat.
Do you think this opens the door for, should we do any type of technical, or maybe someone could feed that into the comments? It's like, see some technical side of it.
Yeah, if you're interested in seeing some videos, either Rob or myself, we could put together a couple videos demoing it. But I think for the most part, just to conclude with Integrated Lights-Out, it reduces the management on your HPE servers, both time and cost. I hate using this word, but it's just all about the return on investment, or words. And it just shows HPE's commitment to creating an end-to-end solution for businesses.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about the hardware; it's about the software. It's about engineering a solution, and that's one thing that they've been really good about. Whether it's compute, storage, AI, machine learning, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that sums it up for about today. I don't know, Rob, we've got an interesting episode that we're working on for the regular Tech Informative coming up. It's COVID-19.
Yeah, we should be releasing that soon, huh?
Yeah. Well, we got to record it first. So it's going to be a lengthy show. We're covering a lot, and we're getting into details. So bear with us as we get used to putting these videos up. I know that we might not be that pro at it yet, but I think that's about it for today. So leave a comment, leave some feedback. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. It really helps. And we hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Yeah, stay safe.
No, Rob, as always, it's a pleasure. It was nice chatting.
Yeah, good to connect.
And looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, take care, Stephen.
Yeah, you too. Cheers. Have a fantastic day.
You too.